Hi, everybody. This is Ashley Victoria Robinson coming to you live from the Popverse, a virtual realm created by Reed Pop. And today I am joined by not only an iconic comic book editor, but a brand new to us comic book writer, the creative force behind Golden Rage, Chrissy Williams. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
How are you doing?
Yes, good, thank you. Really enjoying now that Golden Rage is coming out, that people are actually reading it and responding. It's all very exciting.
Okay, so I'd love to dive right in. You have a long career in comic book editing behind you. What has made you want to, I'm going to say, take the leap as if this is a new idea into writing?
Um, I think, I think uh, you have such a different amount of creative control,
Hmm.
obviously, when it's your ideas and your story and you're driving it. That I think I've just been building up to it for a while, and then this story really felt like it was just burning up my brain, and I had to get it out one way or another. Um, I say that, but I mean I'm not stopping editing either.
Hmm.
I love editing at the same time. I think it's a really important job, and especially I know in comics, especially indie comics, that you know there's always questions over how much the editor is or should be involved, or whether some people even use an editor. But yeah, I think editor is a really important. Like I've hired an editor for Golden Rage, for
Hmm.
example. We're working with an amazing editor, Joe McGill, who is just invaluable at being able to find all the things that your brain is unable to see past because you're too caught up in the greater world of things. They're much better at being able to just hone in on the detail and stop you from doing something terrible to yourself. Uh, yeah.
I think editors and letterers in comic books specifically often go unsung. And I find it so interesting when people who are known for doing either of those jobs transition to a different part of the creative process in comic books. So I would love to know if there are any like tips and tricks from your experience as an editor that you think have made you a stronger writer.
Oh, I mean, learning from the writers you work with, for starters. Like,
Hmm.
I've been so incredibly fortunate to like edit so much of Kieran's work over the years because his brain is um it's impressive, it's unruly, it's like a horse running in a sports car sometimes. It's not a great metaphor, but what does that look like? I don't understand. Maybe I need an editor for my metaphors. But yeah, I think learning from the writers that you work with, learning from the artists that you work with, because different people work in such different ways. And as an editor, you get privileged to see all those different teams working. You get privileged to see how different minds work. And, the way we work on Golden Age is completely different to the way that we would have worked on Wictive, is different
Hmm.
again to how we work on Die. I think that the interpersonal relationships are so important, and really understanding how everyone's brain works, like how everyone is motivated to work, and how everyone enjoys working is really, really important. Um, yeah, learn from what other things. Or I guess for myself, I would say it probably took me longer than I would have liked to maybe pluck up the courage to put myself out there more, because I don't like to say that. I think I should be advocating for more, like, no, I wanted to write since I was a tiny, everything. And I do other writing. I'm a published poet. I've been writing for years. But
Hmm.
in comics, I think the kind of imposter syndrome is very real. And I think I needed to build up a certain amount of experience before I would even dare to write anything. But I feel like that point also was probably a few years earlier than I've actually let it happen. So yeah, be unafraid is maybe a big tip. Just, what's the worst thing that could happen? It doesn't get made. Well, great. That's loads. That's loads of comics. Fine. Uh, yeah, plow on. and bring all of the things that you've learned as an editor with you to sort of plow into the creative stuff. Sure. Yeah.
You also have such a astonishing debut in just the first 2 issues of Golden Age. I think you have nothing to worry about. I hope the imposter syndrome is slowly sluicing off as people's reactions come in, but now I'm gonna ask you the thing I think everyone's been asking you. Why Golden Rage? Why this story? And why right now?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, the small answer is years ago when the Mad Max Fury Road came out,
Mhm.
I was in the cinema and I was watching the scene with the old women in the desert when they reached that group of old women in the desert. Completely badass, totally self-sufficient, and like en masse, not just, oh, here's a
Yeah.
wise old woman who can look after herself. It was like a group of women who did not need anyone else, or and I found myself incredibly emotional watching that, surprised at how emotional I felt watching that. And I think that, old women en masse don't really get a lot of airtime. And I wanted to try and do something that made them the protagonists. And as soon as I started thinking about that, kind of the Golden Girls and Battle Royale and those sorts of ideas just automatically fell in. Sorry, I think Golden Girls obviously for the women, and if they're going to be outcast from society, the Battle Royale thing felt like a natural kind of touch point. But the bigger answer as well is, I mean, all 5 issues were written by the end of last year, so like before the Roe v. Wade
Yeah.
overturning. Like I'm based in the UK,
Mhm.
but I look at America. We all look at America, and when America dials stuff back, it kind of dials it back a bit for everyone. There's this sense that more bad things become possible.
Mhm.
Um, so why this story? It's horrible to realize that I think it's really not that. It's not like a wild dystopian fantasy. I think it's kind of in my head. It's the logical endpoint of how this society treats old women anyway. Like it's news if I just saw something today about Courtney Cox talking about menopause. It's like it's news that Courtney
Uh-huh.
Cox said the word menopause. It's like, why are we still here? It's crazy. um yeah, I think it's just that I just wanted them to be the protagonists. I wanted to write something because ultimately, who are my role models? What do I know I'm definitely going to become? I'm definitely going to become an old woman. So let's look
Mhm.
just to that demographic, and just show how, oh, oh, just how amazing they are. Basically, that's it.
If we could get,
Yeah.
like, a little personal kinda into that, are either of your grandmothers inspiration for this story or maybe specific characters in the story?
My uh, English grandmother, rather I should say Scottish grandmother, my British grandmother, yes, is definitely in the mix. I never knew my Italian grandmother, so I think that absence is kind of in the mix as well.
Mhm.
I would say in terms of the other women, there's a lot of my mum is in there. Uh, Mums I have known are in there. Um, I there's no kind of there's no overly literal, oh, this person stands in for like my
Uh-huh.
mum or something. I haven't wanted to make it that level of personal, but there's definitely explicit lines of dialogue that have come from,
Is one of them, "Come with
received
me if you want a
experience.
bath?" Because I think that is one of the greatest lines ever.
um, that is no, that's just through my pure love of
Yeah.
Terminator and imagining what the right line would be in that moment. In my head, I don't know. I think the offer of a bath would be pretty high up in that instance. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of there's also a lot of me in there, weirdly, which I know it has a sort of question over how much can I throw myself into older characters when I'm not that age,
Mhm.
but I think it's sort of unavoidable in a way. I don't know, maybe maybe I've been working with Kieran too long, but I feel like it's maybe unavoidable that like a little bit of yourself works its way into all the characters at the same time as you're also working really hard to make all of them feel really rounded and have their own motivations and weaknesses and sadnesses and joys and obsessions with cats or chickens, for example.
Okay, so are you I'm a crazy cat lady, so I have a note to are you the crazy cat lady, or is that unique to the book?
No, I'm a pretty much a cat lady.
Yeah.
I grew up a dog. I grew up a dog lady,
Mhm.
and I've turned into a cat lady.
Mhm.
So maybe I'll go back. I'll go back to a like there's that great book, but oh gosh, which Jeanette Winson novel is it that has the dog woman in it? I always really liked the idea of the dog woman as a presence, as a force, as opposed to like cat lady, dog woman.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I am a cat lady for sure.
So you've obviously put a lot of thought, a lot of heart, a lot of personal love into Golden Rage, and I would love to know how many issues do you have planned? How deep is the story gonna go? Are you still gonna be telling the story when you're 96?
Oh, hoo, hoo. Well, the very immediate run that we have planned is this first arc of 5
Mhm.
issues. Um, and the way that we have done it is such that it could stop there and be its own little gem of experience and story and just stops there. But like all these things, there is the possibility that we could come back to it or come back to, there's also the horrific idea of, well, if this is one island, how many other islands are there? What else does this universe actually hold? So there's all sorts of ways that I think we could come back, whether to this island or to another island. But yeah, for now we've got these 5 issues, and I feel really pleased with the sort of story about the community there that evolves across them. And yeah, I hope people stick with it, especially when we get to issue 4. I've done something a bit odd in issue 4 that
Okay.
um
Okay.
I'll say looking forward to hearing people's reactions to. Yeah.
In this book, that could be either really lovely or incredibly ominous.
I will let you discover when it comes out. But yeah, I I think also because of having worked in comics for so long and having sort of sat on a load of this stuff and it's been kind of fermenting, it's just there's a lot there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to try and work into it, and I really hope I've seen some awesome reviews actually of people really getting what we're doing in terms of the for example, issue 2 changes so we get the viewpoint of one of the other women, and that's going to keep happening in the issues, and I really hope that that helps build this sense of who these women are, so not just what's happening to them but who they are as they are experiencing what's going on the island, which I thought was really important to try and have a bit more meat, a bit more emotional meat in there as well.
You spoke really beautifully at the top of this interview about not necessarily managing people's personalities, but understanding how your team came together, how everybody interacted with their work and their creative spirit. So I would love to ask you about some of the members of your creative team and beginning with the artist Laura Knight. How did you find her? How did you connect with her on this project? She really knocks it out of the park, like from page 1, issue 1.
Yeah. Lauren, oh gosh, I feel so lucky. So I didn't know Lauren at all before this project,
Wow.
and had been sort of reaching out to a few people, like maybe thing stuff, and then connected with Lauren on Twitter. Like literally just saw, I can't even remember how. I saw her tweeting about her work with some examples of her work in the tweet, and I just kind of, oh, are you free for stuff? Would you maybe want to work on some sample pages for a project? Like the Golden Girls Battle Royale thing is like the elevator pitch,
Yeah.
and jumped on immediately, like, yes, this sounds amazing, this sounds so cool. And yeah, was just incredibly great she's been great to work with, because okay, let me do the editor bit of my brain
Okay.
first, and then the like creative bit. The editor bit of my brain loves her because she responds to messages. She is timely with her work. She's very professional. She talks back about feedback. You know, you have conversations. But okay, so that's all the tedious editor stuff. In terms of being like a creative person, looking at, you know, when you're the writer, you're looking at someone who can. It's not about bringing what's in my head out to life. It's about her taking the sort of the raw words and going, what do I think is the best version, the best visual version of this? How do I think I can interpret these words in a way that makes the comic, that really makes the comic in a way that the script doesn't? And I just think she did an amazing job. Like the character designs, the characters are so detailed in terms of personality, how that personality is communicated through the outfits. And they have it's that great cartooning thing of like, oh, and they all look like different silhouettes. So even in pencil roughs, you always know who you're looking at. Yeah, it's all really well thought out and really clear. And yeah, I think she just really got it, you know. She really felt the emotions, because a lot of, I think there's probably something else that I've picked up from working with Kieran and Jamie over the years, is how much Kieran asks people to draw emotions on their face, you know, just draw reactions. And she was great at being able to do that. I think some of the expressions she's done are really good. But she's just made that, she just brought the world to life in her way, in a way that just felt amazing. And yeah, and all in a timely way, which pleases me as an editor. I'm sorry, it's so ridiculous to be like in the creative team and yet still have that sense of like deadlines and everything in my head. I would love to be able to just push it out entirely and just, you know, waltz about in the creative world. But no, but on that though, Sophie as well, Sophie Dodgson, who's the colorist, who also colors Bitterroot. I had worked with her at the start of the pandemic on an anthology to raise money for comics retailers that was kind of set up by Shelley Bond. It was called Insider Art, and we were the only two people managing sections who were based in the UK, so we just sort of automatically bonded then. And immediately I just thought she would do an amazing job, and she did. And I've heard, I mean, when Lauren and I have spoken to other people about it as well, you know, from Lauren's the first person to say how much like Sophie just takes what's there and elevates it and just does amazingly beautiful things with it. And I mean, I'm the idiot who wrote half of the first issue inside a dark brown page, you know, and yet she still manages to make it really beautiful. And the firelight is so
stunning,
and the shadows are just so, yeah, it's really, really good. And in fact, we've just got the colors back for issue 5, and it's so beautiful. I can't wait. I can't wait for people to see it.
I can't believe that you are like wrapping up issue 5. Issue 2 just came out. It's so organized. I love it. It's very pleasing to me.
I think part of the editor brain is like, we'll just never let things slide too much, you know. It's like, no, God, you know, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it in a way that no one ever needs to feel let down by things not coming, you know. I think it's really important when you're working in a team, for starters, but also when you're the weird sort of microclimate of comics and working with retailers and stuff. I really feel like wherever possible, everything should happen when we say it's going to happen.
There's never going to be the headline Chrissy Williams series delayed indefinitely, fans devastated.
I hope not. I really, really hope not. But yeah, but no, but the whole team. So also you mentioned earlier, letters going unsung. Becca Carey has done an amazing job on our lettering, and I know it's the thing that everyone says is that the best lettering looks effortless, right?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
but she does amazing things with, even like if someone's speaking off panel, and you're just like, oh, the voice is coming off, she'll thread it through bits of the art so seamlessly and so beautifully. She puts so much effort in, and what she's been doing is really, really, really good. And again, because a lot of the story happens with captions, how to spread the captions across panels is its own like storytelling art as well, and she's really, really good at that. She's just brilliant. And as I said, I mentioned Jomette before as well, the editor. I just feel really proud and pleased that everyone just has been really great to work with, and seems to genuinely kind of love the idea behind the comic. And it's just, it maybe sounds like a cliche or something, but it just really has felt like a lovely team spirit, I guess, while we've been working on it. And everyone's really good as well. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. It's like,
Yeah.
No, it's been really, and I think on a book that is ostensibly about female friendships and communities, I think it's great that we all sort of have had that experience.
That was
Yeah.
my next question, because everybody, I don't know everybody's identity, but from their name, they appear to be, female or feminine. Would you intend to create a team of badass women to tell a story about a bunch of badass women?
I I don't know that I would have said that at the start, but as Lauren came on, and then immediately wanted to ask Sophie, I was like, yes, we
Uh-huh.
need to absolutely keep this as a female team. It somehow seems part of the work, part of telling the story. Yeah, yes, she said forcefully.
She said with conviction, and we believed it. So I would love to ask, of the three elder protagonists, Rosie, Lottie, and Caroline, who do you think you're going to be the most like when you grow up?
Oh, um, I think Caroline has, so the fact that Caroline used to teach poetry and teach creative writing, and is quite dry-witted
Mm-hmm.
and sarcastic. I feel like I identify a lot with those elements of Caroline. However, I also very much identify with Lottie's kind of somewhat scattershot approach to logic, and general sort of whimsical forgetfulness, and there's a bit of that in there as well. Um, but then Rosie, I mean, there's a lot of Rosie that I would say has come from my mum as well, just in terms of the grim, stoic determination.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I hope whichever one it is, it's one that still has a lot of cats.
Yeah,
That would be the best
the
thing for
most
me.
important
Yeah,
detail, lots of cats. All with
yeah.
hilarious names. All the cats and all of the chickens that we've met so far in the series have very sweet and slightly hilarious names.
Oh, I should say actually that the cat, the softest cat, Oedipus,
Mm-hmm.
that is actually a tribute to a real cat of
Of
cats past. A family member had a cat called Oedipus. Um, yeah, Oedipus,
mm-hmm.
obviously, but still Edie, because Edie is a girl's. It's a mess. It's a big old mess of naming and gender. But yeah, Oedipus is just too good a cat name not to pay homage to, I think.
Are there pictures of the original Edie on social media? Can we find them if we troll through your Twitter?
Eek. Sadly, I don't think so, because of how past the cat was. But
Oh,
oh, I should. I shall do some digging and see if I can find something.
future back matter. I would love to see it. That's all that I'm saying. So when issue 2 comes around, we get to meet a lot of other residents of the island. In the final page, not to spoil anything, we definitely tease someone we're going to spend some more time with in issue 3, who's been named in the first 2 issues a lot. Are we gonna see in each issue more and more residents of this island?
I think in terms of the structure, I mean, the short answer is yes, there will
Okay.
be some more people in 4. But I think in terms of the structure, really, we're kind of building to the 3rd issue. If you're sort of thinking of like a 5-act play or something, the
Mhm.
3rd, I think by the time you get to the 3rd issue, you basically want to have met pretty much the main people by then, right? You
Mhm.
don't want to be in like kind of. But that said, as I said in issue 4, there's this weird thing, and that does involve some new faces.
Mhm.
So, um, but yeah, it's that balance, isn't it, of planning out something to only possibly be 5 issues long, knowing you want to look at a community, trying to figure out how many people you can realistically involve in the story and still get that kind of emotional meat I was talking about before,
Mhm.
and how to juggle the sort of the different facets of the island. I wanted very much to sort of try and give a flavor of all the different ways that people might live on the island and the different sort of pockets of people that are there. Yeah, it's yeah. There are still a few little sprinklings of people, but we're fairly kind of in it by issue 3. We're fairly in it now. Um, so we're just building on what's there.
That's an ominous giggle. So we kind of jokingly refer to the island as the island of the forgotten crones in the first issue, which honestly is like where I would like to go later in my life. Sounds amazing. Is there an actual name for the island and will we learn it?
So the way that I've described the way I'm handling that idea of real names, real world, what's
Mhm.
happening on the mainland, all that, is that there's a bit more. This is kind of a bit more fably than factual, really. So no is the short
Great.
answer for this. These 5 issues, I don't want to get too distracted by the in quote marks real stuff. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to look at the chicken world and and the things that unfold and happen in the other issues in their community instead.
I don't know if you've seen a lot of the writing or the tweets that have gone around about the series thus far, but people are throwing the phrase golden warriors around to describe our 4 protagonists. And I wanted to know how that phrase struck you. Do you like that? Have you seen that before?
I actually haven't seen that before. That's amazing. Golden Warriors. That
Yeah, yeah.
sounds. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I love it because Golden Warriors in itself sounds like it could be something from, I don't know, like a Warhammer, or something. But I just have the very strong visual of the actual protagonists, and I love that a word as strong and military as warrior is being used in this context. Yeah, I love it. Oh, that's great.
Hey. So, as we're wrapping up, you have named a lot of really important properties that inspired Battle Royale, Golden Girls, Mad Max. I would love to know, was there anything else that kind of percolated and was inspirational for you in forming this, just in case anyone has been reading the series and they want to get into that same kind of vibe or headspace?
I think unavoidably there's a bit of Margaret Atwood, a bit of Handmaid's Tale kind of lurking
Yes.
underneath it all. There's definitely some Logan's Run kind of mixed in. Um, there's one character in particular who brings a whole wealth of Murder She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher vibes with her.
Yes, that we met her.
Um, uh, I mean, if I could just encourage people to do one thing today, it would be go and watch Murder She Wrote again, because especially the early series, they really hold up as jolly television. And in dark times, sometimes I think you need a bit of jolly distraction, even if it is about murder. Yeah.
Fun fact, also RuPaul's favorite television show is Murder, She Wrote. So, two great talents recommending the same thing.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's everyone's favorite show, because why wouldn't it be? Because
Ex-
it's classic.
And then I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, do you have a favorite Golden Girl and who? I know, it's like choosing between your children.
Oh my gosh. So someone asked me which of the Golden Girls would win in a fight. And that's
Ooh.
I thought about it for a second, and then I was like, oh, Sophia. Like, of course it's Sophia. Like,
She's
of
scrappy.
course.
Yes.
She's scrappy, she's in the kitchen, she has knives, she's implements, like, she would definitely win. Yeah, who is my favorite? I mean, probably Sophia, just because of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, oh gosh, it's an impossible question. They just are all so brilliant in their own ways. Yeah. Wonderful women.
You have dropped a ton of like knowledge bombs and insight about your process and the process for creating this story in particular, but as someone who has touched on so many different aspects of writing professionally, what is your advice to aspiring writers?
To really, it's that cliche thing of writing what you know, but making sure that if what you know is Murder She Wrote, write that. That's
Yes.
great. That's fine. It took me ages, I think, to get over the hurdle of feeling like things had to be worthy or had to be more literary or something. It just, all of those ideas are just, they just hold you back. Like, go write what you love, not even just what you know, but write what you love, and the good stuff will come out, I think. Just
and,
trust what you love.
and then tying back to what you opened with, don't be afraid and create the story now.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I mean, especially in comics, it's just throw yourself in there if you can. It's all about the team building, right? Finding someone else who's willing to go along with you on the journey, and then finding someone else who's willing to help you, edit the journey so it doesn't get away from you. Yeah. Look for those people that want to share the journey with you, and just dive in.
So here in the Popverse, we celebrate the best in TV, movies, and comics. We've talked a lot about Murder, She Wrote and Golden Girls, but what are you geeking out about right now that you're not working on? Because you are working on a lot of amazing things right now.
To be perfectly honest, the biggest geek happy making part of me right now is the fact that on Mondays we get new Game of Thrones episodes, and on Fridays we get new Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
I can't. I really want. I understand people have feelings about these things, but I just
Feelings.
love it. Yeah, I just they are worlds that I love being in, and I mean, the Lord of the Rings is so beautiful. Some of the episodes I've had to watch on my iPad, and I'm like, that's not the way. That's not the way this should be viewed. Like, as big as possible. It's making me so happy that for the next I think 7 or 8 weeks, like,
Yeah.
that's gonna continue. It's made everything better. Yeah.
I get a lot of sci-fi answers to that, so it's really nice to hear fantasy getting wrapped as something that you're geeking out about right now.
Well, it's just seeing the two together back to back as well. Like, the one which, although obviously Game of Thrones is doing a few things in trying to sort of redirect its sexual
Yeah.
energies. It's so funny to see that version, and then you see Lord of the Rings, which is absolutely so kind of formal in its romantic intentions. It's really interesting seeing these very different takes on how you build a world, and how you make us care about the characters caring about each other.
And it's a bit of an Ouroboros, right? Because you have Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, which wouldn't exist without the original Lord of the Rings book, which is chasing the success of the original Game of Thrones television show into now a Rings of Power television show. Like, it's sort of continually eating its tail along the way.
Yeah. I love it. Long may it continue. I'm yeah, it's making me genuinely so happy. And also the scheduling of it. There's one at the start of the week, there's one at the end of the week. It couldn't be better. It's made me very, very, very happy.
Well, Chrissy, thank you so much for joining us here in the Popverse today. Can you let everybody know where they can best find you online, support your work, pick up everything that you have your fingers in, and tweet at you about Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon?
Yeah, I'm just Chrissy Williams on social media platforms. And yeah, Golden Rage is so issue 1 and 2 have come out. Issue 3 is the start of October, and then yeah, 4 and 5 will be November and December. With the trade out next February, I believe, February
Just
or
in time
March.
for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Say it with murderous old women. Yeah, that's if you can't say it with murderous old women, who can you say it with? Does that make sense? Yeah.
You should put that on a greeting card and sell it. I would honestly buy it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's me. That's where I am, and I will look up and see if I can find some Oedipus reference.
Please, just for
Yeah.
me. Please, please, please. Thank you everyone so much for joining us here in the Popverse. I have been Ashley Victoria Robinson. If you like this video, we have this and so much more over on thepopverse.com. And make sure to get yourself a membership for the full experience. Chrissy, one more time, thank you so, so much for joining us today and for blowing my mind and creating such an amazing debut book.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.